Alright. I had seen stuff on Facebook and some of these groups we're in on these knife groups, and I want to start off say, there's a lot of tooling you can buy out there for making pocket knives, and you can get lost in it, and you can buy certain tools that you come down the road, you find out you didn't even need. I had a gentleman asking the other day, when I told him just use a razor blade and bypass a $100 part. So this right here is what they sell. It's called a Rupel dial. They don't have an dial indicator on here. I just pulled it off this one and put it on my Menifee jig. These are two totally different jigs. Y'all understand that? This one here, they say it gets you close, gets you rough fitted, and basically you just adjust this to fit the frame of your knife. I always figured there's a lot of difference. When you adjust something, set it, and then you put your blade and all that on there and you go to adjust it, why not go ahead and adjust it in your frame? Best way to get in the ballpark and get really close is do it all in the frame. So I don't use this no more. Honestly, it's using a razor blade. It's made this obsolete. Didn't need it. Didn't even need to spend the money on it. Now this is a different story. This is for zeroing it out when the spring's under tension. Alright. So I had said you can use a razor blade to scribe the top of the spring and get in the ballpark really close. I want to go over a couple things with you first before you just jump in there and do it. If you've been building pocket knives, you kind of know most of the basics. But first off, I'll stick my knife in my frame. I'll leave my spring up out of the way. I'll give me a straight edge, and I want to open that knife to where everything flows. I want all my lines flowing the same. So I don't want my blade down here like this or up here like this. There could be no recovering from something like that. So I want my stuff straight. That's where I want that blade in that frame. So what I'll do, I stick my spring on here. Now I've got this one fitted in the open. But let's say my blade was canted down a little bit like that right there. What I would have to do then is either cut material off the tip of my spring right here and possibly in my back square. I wouldn't want to just cut it all in one or cut it all out of the back square. What happens is when you do that, you may have your spring sitting way down, being wild in all three positions. I like mine to be even with my tang. See how my tip of my spring is even with the tang, even and enclosed. So let's say we're building this knife and my blades run down a little bit. What you can start off doing is taking your spring, setting it over and hitting your back of your torque point, and then you adjust your blade where you want it, and then scribe the tip of that spring behind that back square. And once you do that, what you need to do is, once you got your line scribed across there, I like to scribe another line and just roughly check how thick my half stop is. If my half stop's sticking too far, because remember, whatever you do here and here, it's going to allow this spring to drop further down in the frame on this torque point in this back square. Well, if I drop it further down in, and let's say my half stop is right, so let's say it's right from there to there, when I drop raising this blade and I drop this down, I'm going to have too much steel on my half stop. So what I'll do is I'll take it off like this right here. Now obviously I've done cut the tip of this spring down, but I can still show you. So if I'd have marked it like I showed you where you let the goes over the torque point and hits right there at the tang, and I mark the end of it, I'd see that line. It'd be like this right here. What I'd do, I'd check it, pre-check it, and just check and see if that line lines up close to there and lines up close to there. And then I'll know I'm within the ballpark. So just remember, whatever you're doing here, think about what it's doing back here. That way, by the time you get done, you're even. So what I'll do now that I got my tip set, my blade, I'll take my marker. I got my tip set. I'm going to blacken my spring again so I get a new scribe line. Put my knife together. Put my spring on there. Alright. So that's it in the open position. Got my straight edge, checking my profile, my knife. I like it. It looks good. So I'm going to take my razor blade and I'm going to mark it right there at the top of my frame on the spring. Just like that. Now I got a line. See if you can see that line right there. You see that line? Alright. So that line is flush with the top of my frame. Let's see where it's at half stop. See if I can get the light right for you. There you go. You can barely see it. So it's right up against my liner. Now, if that line was sticking up a little bit like that, let's get the light. Now, if it's sticking up a little bit like that, then I know my half stop's way out. Look how close it is. So what I've done, I'll just take it off and go hit my grinder, come back, put it on there. Well, I'm good. And I'll do the close position. I want you to notice how much meat I got on the close position here. Way too much. That's like 30-something thousandths, maybe 37 thousandths. Now, I don't like it. I like to get mine down to about 10 to 15 thousandths in the closed position, but you be careful doing that because you got to be able to swing this tip where it needs to sit. And when you cut your swedges in, you don't grind them, they're there. You don't want to be that guy over here cutting your frame down to make it all flow together with a good nail nick, right? But if you grind your nail nicks in, I guess you can do as you please, but a little more roadblocks here when you cut your nail nicks in. All right, so that's how I zero out. I get a knife close to zero. And once I got that knife close, then I go to my minifig jig, and that's where I truly zero it. So I hope that helps y'all, and appreciate y'all watching.